For decades, people believed a simple myth that real financial power belongs only to governments and banks, that criminals may control streets and neighborhoods, but never the global flow of money. But history hides a different truth, a truth too uncomfortable for economists, too embarrassing for law enforcement, and too dangerous for the world's biggest financial institutions. Because there was a man, a quiet, calculating immigrant with no army, no office, no official authority, who built a financial network so vast, so complex, that governments quietly copied his methods for decades. A man who laundered more money than Wall Street banks, who moved capital across borders before globalization even existed, who engineered the shadow economy that modern financial criminals still use today. His name was Meyer Lansky, and his empire wasn't built with guns. It was built with ledgers, offshore accounts, loyalty, and fear. This is the Financial Historian, where money, power, and history collide. To understand Lansky's rise, we must step back into early 20th century America, a land of glittering wealth and suffocating poverty, where a tiny elite lived in mansions powered by steel, oil, and finance, while millions of immigrants crowded into slums, working 14-hour factory shifts. New York was a paradox, the richest city in the world, and home to the most desperate men on earth. The streets of the Lower East Side were filled with Yiddish, Italian, Russian, Polish, and Sicilian voices. Children sold newspapers to survive. Gangs controlled neighborhoods because police didn't. And behind everything, the rise of American capitalism had created one truth. Wherever inequality grows, shadow markets grow even faster. Legal markets were for the rich. Illegal markets were for everyone else. Alcohol, gambling, protection, sex, smuggling. These weren't crimes to the poor. They were economic lifelines. This was the perfect world for a financial genius hiding in a child's body. Meyer Lansky arrived in America as a small, quiet, observant child. He wasn't strong. He wasn't loud. He wasn't born into wealth. But he had something far rarer: a mathematician's mind, a banker's discipline, a criminal's willingness. He watched the gangs fight for territory and saw what they didn't see. Power wasn't in the streets. Power was in the money. While other boys joined gangs to prove strength, Lansky studied how they earned, moved, hid, and lost their profits. He became the first person to treat crime like a corporation, to run illegal markets like an accountant, to see criminal money as capital, not cash to burn. A century later, we call this organized crime. But Lansky, and only Lansky, organized the money. The modern parallel? Financial engineers on Wall Street who never touched the product, yet control the flow of billions. If money is the foundation of every society, why does so much of it end up controlled by people outside the law? Lansky believes something extraordinary. Money is not value, money is movement. Value comes from what people create. Money is just how it travels, and whoever controls the movement controls the world. He understood that money is a story, a trust system, a psychological agreement. Governments don't control it. Banks don't control it. People's belief does. This insight, simple yet devastating, was centuries ahead of its time. While early economists argued about gold, silver, and paper, Lansky saw money for what it truly is: a liquid force that flows to the safest, fastest, and smartest hands. And he intended those hands to be his. Lansky hated one thing: dead money, money that sits, money that hides, money that sleeps. He believed hoarded wealth corrupts society and destroys markets. So he invented a revolutionary idea for criminals. Money must always circulate. If it isn't earning, it's dying. He reinvested everything: casinos, hotels, smuggling routes, unions, politicians, banks. The modern comparison? Today's shadow banking system, where trillions move through offshore networks faster than regulators can breathe. But Lansky also knew a darker truth: speculation destroys everything. When gambling infects an economy, when people bet instead of build, trust collapses. He saw this inside gang empires. Fast money created fast death. So he avoided speculation like a disease. Instead, he built predictable income streams, casinos that couldn't lose, rackets with fixed percentages, operations that behave like financial institutions. Today, we see speculation in housing bubbles, stock bubbles, crypto bubbles, entire markets built on hype instead of value. Lansky would have called this the stupidity that makes kings poor and thieves rich. Despite being a criminal, Lansky believed in one ethical principle: a deal is sacred. If people stop trusting the system dies. He practiced a brutal but consistent code. No cheating partners, no stealing from accounts, no betraying financial arrangements. In economics, we call this moral hazard and information asymmetry. Lansky solved it with fear. Banks solve it with contracts. Both are forms of trust, one written, one enforced. Lansky believed wealth should come from systems, not victims. He hated chaos. He despised unnecessary violence. To him, labor created predictable profit. Violence created unpredictable loss. Earned wealth had stability. Manipulated wealth had risk. This philosophy made him richer than mob bosses who controlled armies of killers. While Lansky manipulated crime, governments manipulated currency. He watched America abandon the gold standard. He watched inflation eat savings. He watched politicians print money like gamblers chasing losses. He realized governments and criminals are not opposites. They are competitors. Both manipulate belief. Both weaponize money. The difference? Criminals hide it. Governments justify it. Both create inflation. Both tax the poor through stealth. Both destroy trust. When the top becomes corrupt, so do the markets. So do the workers. So does the entire system. Lansky watched cities decay from the inside out. Politicians sold influence. Police sold protection. Banks washed dirty money. Businesses relied on criminal credit. Corruption becomes a chain reaction, a financial disease. And every disease ends the same way, with collapse. History's lesson? Economies don't die because they run out of money. They die because they run out of trust. Lansky understood what many economists still don't. Money is not metal, paper, or digital code. Money is belief. When belief collapses, so does the currency. Weimar Germany, Zimbabwe, Venezuela, Argentina. Every collapse follows the same rule. When people stop trusting the story, they stop accepting the money. Even Lansky himself used this principle to predict which countries were safe to store money in and which were time bombs, fear, greed, hoarding, exploitation. Lansky used all of them, but never let them use him. He understood that economic cycles are human cycles. Booms and busts are psychological waves. Crises are emotional contagions. He mastered the human mind before mastering the money. Lansky saw that bad incentives create fragile societies. Reward speculation, you get bubbles. Reward corruption, you get collapse. Reward extraction, you get poverty. But reward contribution, and you create prosperity. His empire followed one rule: everyone eats or everyone bleeds. It was violent, unethical, immoral, but economically, it worked. Lansky accumulated unimaginable wealth, but he understood a truth that many billionaires still ignore. Wealth without responsibility becomes a weapon. Societies rise when the powerful behave like caretakers. They fall when the powerful behave like parasites. Lansky used his wealth to build systems, not destroy them. Governments use their wealth to destroy systems, not build them. This reversal still shapes the modern world. Look around today: shadow banking, offshore accounts, money laundering, global speculation, political manipulation, institutional distrust. Everything Lansky built in the shadows is now replicated in broad daylight by corporations, banks, and nations. The world adopted his methods, but not his discipline. That is why the same ancient problems keep returning: inequality, inflation, bubbles, crashes, corruption, distrust, collapse. Human nature never changes. Only the zeros on the numbers do. In the end, Lansky left us with one haunting truth. Money is not the root of power. Trust is. And once trust is gone, money follows. Meyer Lansky was a criminal, but he understood money better than economists, bankers, and politicians of his era. He built a financial empire bigger than banks because he mastered the fundamentals they forgot: trust, incentives, discipline, and movement. And as we navigate today's world of collapsing currencies, shadow economies, and failing institutions, his story offers a warning. Those who control the flow of money control the fate of nations. This is the Financial Historian, where money, power, and history collide. Like the video. Share it with someone who still believes that only banks control the world, and subscribe for more hidden truths about the economy that shapes us all.